They said there's no doubt you'll surely lose. Go ahead and sing your tune. We didn't listen, stayed right on the truth. And now we're on the right side of the news.
Good morning. Poke the Hornets Nest. Nick Gardner, Doug Jenke, we're here. We're happy to be here. Doug's going to tell us about his trip to New York. He had the pleasure of going to New York and watching the New York Yankees, and that's good and fine, but he went to, what is it?
Times Square.
Times Square.
Yeah.
I would like in detail what you thought of Times Square. What has happened to New York? What's your opinion of New York? You know, they're going to have a free grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
I think they've already dumped $30 million in it. Somebody told me, or that's what it's going to cost.
Well, you are sadly mistaken, as always, Nick.
That's okay. I try real hard.
Because they actually are also going to tax white people higher than all the other races. So, you know, there's some really good things going on in New York. No, it's a very long story, but I'll keep it very short. So we have a lady who is a friend of my wife through the horsey thingies. And she spends 1 week, kind of 5-6 days at our house every year. And last year at the second one, she says to my wife as we're sitting there at the last night, she's like, Doug likes baseball, doesn't he? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess kind of. I played it for so long. And she goes, okay, well, that's settled. You guys are coming to New York next year for a Yankee Stadium opening day. I'm like, okay. So, you know, I had to buy my ticket, but she covered my wife and everything we did while we were there. And so it was pretty cool because, you know, Yankee Stadium's Yankee Stadium. And you know what the coolest thing is, Nick? This will go back to your time. The coolest thing about Yankee Stadium, you know what it is? See, I got you stumped.
Mickey Mantle seats.
No.
Donald Duck seats?
No. Outside the new stadium, the new Yankee Stadium, so to speak, they left the original polo field in place. So as you were walking up to the newer Yankee Stadium, which I think opened in the 90s sometime or 2000, early 2000s, the actual original polo field where Babe Ruth and everything was, now all the stands are gone, but the field itself and that center field thing that's out there 7,000 feet, you walk by and you look to the right and you're like, hey, that's the polo field. And the lady and her husband were like, yeah, and they left it. They didn't actually tear it down. That was cool.
Let me interrupt you and ask you something. You said center field like 7,000 feet. Was it a lot further than what it is now?
The polo field was legendary for being just the fact that Babe Ruth hit so many home runs is amazing because center field at that park might have been 500 feet. I mean, it was out there.
And what is it now?
I'd say most ballparks are about 410. So it's substantially longer, but it was just funny as I looked over and I go, hey, and I saw the thing out in center field and I go, that's from the old polo fields. And the husband goes, yeah, they left that when they rebuilt this whole thing. So that's kind of cool.
Well, you know, they could, Babe Ruth could reclaim his record as the most home runs if they just went back to the films and found fly balls that got caught that was just over 400 feet. We'll give him a home run for that. He might be up to about 1,200 or so.
Yeah, he did. Well, it's just crazy. So anyways, that was kind of the cool thing. Walking by and I looked over there and then started asking him and he said, yeah. And I said, okay, great. So then there you are and there's Yankee Stadium. And so we get to the go through the security. Everything's like TSA, like they got swans and scanners and you go in. And we immediately go to this elevator, which is kind of new to me. I'm not an elevator class at a baseball game. Normally I'm in the bleachers going down. And we get in the elevator and literally me to you right now is Brian Cashman, the GM of the Yankees. He's the big man. He's the George Steinbrenner of today. And he's standing right there. And I'm thinking, holy crap, I'm sharing an elevator with Brian Cashman. So we get up to what's called Delta Deck from Delta Airlines. They sponsor.
You know, it's too bad you didn't have a bag of chicken wings. You could have said, hey, Brian, you want a chicken wing?
No, so anyways, it was, So we get there and we're at home plate. So you had home plate, the back of the stop, and then probably about 30 feet of seats below us, and then we were right above it. And so pretty spectacular. And to be in Yankee Stadium in opening season was pretty cool. But the second day we went, so that was on a Friday night, opening day. Saturday, we went into Times Square. And I got to tell you, we think we got bad roads here in California. We ain't got nothing, baby. I am telling you.
Is that right?
I am telling you, the roads in New York will shatter vehicles. I mean, my wife's friend, said she's had to replace like 7 rims on her SUV because she just hit so many potholes on the way in.
I've never had replace a rim.
I've replaced 2.
Well, you're a crazy driver.
I am a crazy driver. But anyway, so, you know, we're going into New York, and, you know, it's all that legendary stuff and 9/11 and, you know, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, complete hellhole, crap, dingy, dirty, everything's dirty. They actually have things called co-op town outside of New York, and those are actual complete apartment buildings. It's well known to the locals. They're complete apartment buildings that are like the 15-minute city concept. You live, you work, you recreate all in one building. So people who live in these buildings, a lot of them work in these below, and they don't have to go hardly anywhere ever.
That's mini downtown Reading.
Yeah.
You've got those people living up in the 3 stories, the 3 top stories. They've got everything they need at the Reading Market spot down there.
Yeah.
There's a workout place. There's even a boxing gym across from the Reading Market. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was sitting there eating a piece of pizza, and this guy was big and buff and running around with boxing gloves on. I looked up and it said boxing club.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny is in New York, the co-op town, or co-op as they call them, they're not necessarily run very well, and they're not necessarily very safe, and they're not necessarily really good things. But that's New York,
And that's government.
That's government. So we work our way through, and traffic is terrible. But we finally get to a parking spot downtown to park for about an hour and weasel our way into a parking thing down underneath a parking garage. Was a $40 tip and about an $80 fee.
Oh, my goodness.
Just because we got down, and the guy's like, well, it'll be this, or we're full. She goes, here's this. And then she gave him a tip of 40 on top of that for doing it. So, and then we went up, and we are literally at Times Square. We're there. We're right where the ball drops. We're right. I mean, you want to talk about a scummy, dirty cesspool of humanity. That is Times Square in New York. It was gray. I mean, the weather wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't raining, so we had that. But it's just, everything is just dingy and stinky. And the people there were crazy people. I mean, like legitimately crazy type people all over. It was funny as this one lady, and Deb is the lady's name, she warned us that we're just going to see all these people who are influencers taking selfies and walking around and acting all thing. And sure as crap, there was a ton of people doing their videos in Times Square. But there's this one girl who was trying to sing a little video-ishy thing. I don't even know what the hell it was. But she's sitting there, and this other girl's filming her, and this black dude, and it's just, he was black, not race, he was black. But you could tell he was a little off. And he comes up and he starts trying to get in the middle of her video and this and that. And I thought she was going to knock him out. Oh, she was pissed. And she's in his face, and we're all just watching this, and she's in his face, and he's like this. And so she tries to start filming it again. He comes back over, and I was just like, this is, I had no joy being in Times Square or downtown New York, to be honest with you.
And I would suspect Times Square is probably maybe the best part of New York.
Well, you know, it was interesting. And I guess it's interesting to the fact that she lives about 40 minutes outside of New York driving time, I guess. And it's not even 40 miles. It's just 40 minutes driving time. And when you get to a certain level, all of a sudden you're in or suburbia. You are in the middle of city moving forward, gray, dingy, terrible, bad traffic. But you get out of this little zone, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of Connecticut kind of wilderness, trees.
Yeah.
Yep. And one of the cool things that they have there is they have this, it's called the Parkway. And it's one of the original freeways from way back in the day, apparently. And the bridges are so low, you can't have any trucks of any kind on those things. And they have bridges that are literally 10, 12 feet. And these are these old bridges built in the early 1900s. They're really cool bridges. I mean, architecturally, you're driving to them and you're like, well, that's a cool bridge, and the next one's cooler. So that was kind of unique. The fact that they have this freeway going into New York, and there's no trucks. There's none at all. So I went. I saw. I got to watch 2 Yankees games, and beer is $20. So if you're gonna go. Bring
your drinking before you go to the
bring
stadium.
your IRA, because it's going to cost you a couple bucks. But it was a great experience. It's not one of those things. I never had a bucket list to go to Yankee Stadium, so it kind of fell in my lap.
Well, I read a deal one time that said the worst slums in America are 2 blocks off the mall in Washington, D.C. And I was in Washington, D.C., and I walked 2 blocks off the mall, and it was getting pretty bad. That's why I ask you. I wonder what it's like 2 blocks off of Times Square. Could it get worse?
Oh, the funny thing is everybody. I mean, I was there, so obviously it was a lot of tourists and this and that. But there was a lot of people that were obviously, I would say, local of various natures, races, and dispositions. And I can only imagine under Kami Mandami, comrade, how bad it really is. According to Deb, there are areas you just do, they're no-go zones. You just do not go into them.
There you go.
So, and it's about to get worse. I mean, what's the worst you could do when all your rich people are leaving and you're gonna tax the white people who stay? What's the worst that could happen?
I was talking to a gal day before yesterday, and she was in New York, and she was talking to a tour guide.
Yeah.
And asked her, what they expected from Mandami. And do you expect him to do everything he's going to say? And she says, no. If he just gets half done, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Now, you've been to a Pac field down in San Francisco.
I have.
And around San Francisco.
I went to school for 4 years in San Francisco.
Was it worse in New York than San Francisco?
Well,
in your opinion?
Well, in my humble, uneducated opinion, I've only had to go to San Francisco in the last 6 years for my wife to get her passport renewed at the Dutch consulate. So other than that, I have tried like crazy not to have to visit and be downtown San Francisco at all. But I have people who I know who have gone there and said it's absolutely atrocious. The needles, the stench, the people are they're doing pooing and peeing right there.
Yes.
So I know that San Francisco is on death's doorstep as a city. Thank you, liberals. New York, I didn't see that only because I went in, we parked, we walked, we got out, we came back out, and I didn't get to really see much of New York. But I'm telling you, they're both on death's doorstep. They're both cancers on civilization, and they will, unfortunately, they both prove that more than half of our electorate is absolute idiots, is what it basically does, because they vote for this stuff. They're the ones that vote in the continual liberal control over San Francisco as it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. San Francisco, they literally just elected a communist, Islamic, Jew-hating, white person-hating thing. And as you were saying, somebody talked to somebody, and they said they're looking forward to getting half his agenda done.
If they just get half done, we'll be happy.
Yeah. Well, that's what everybody says right before utopia turns into hell, is when they start to realize that their grocery stores are going to run out of food, that their services are, I mean, what was it? I was reading an article a couple of weeks ago that child care in New York, I want to say it was like $12,000 a year. And now they're going to be opening these government-sponsored kind of free child care, and they're expected the cost would be running up around $20,000.
Oh, gee, and who's going to pay for that?
Well, the taxpayers, the white people. That's
the white people.
Well, no, you know what?
They're the only ones that the Orientals too, Asians.
Well, you know what? I was thinking about this the other day, Nick. When you look back at all of the problem groups we have in the world, God bless the Asians. You know, they get up, they go to work, they have businesses, they put in massive hours. I mean, you go into some of these Chinese or these Asian stores.
Sure, and they'll live above the store.
They live above the store, and they have 47 people living in the same house. And now I know from local law enforcement that there is a Asian gang problem, but apparently they kind of prey on their own people. I don't know if that's great or not, but that's just, they don't go out of their, but they just go to work. They educate their kids. Their kids test in the top of all scores, and you never hear from them, even when they're being beat on. It's always us white people that get hammered, and I don't have a lot of hope for those.
You don't hear much about the Asians. I agree with you. You know, predominantly all the rest you hear just about the bad. You take the blacks, you know, there's some wonderful blacks that work hard. Hispanics.
Yeah.
You get away from the gangbangers and the criminals and stuff. They're the hardest working, happiest people I've ever been around.
Well, you know what? It's interesting is when I grew up, I didn't even have a white friend till I was about, I want to say, fresh sophomore in high school. And so all my friends were black. And I didn't grow up in some ghetto. I grew up in Lompoc, California. We lived on a street with a lot of black people because they worked at Vandenberg Air Force Base. And my friends growing up, Art Woods, Vincent Price, they were all black guys. I didn't know any different. We didn't have color.
Sure.
And so there are great people of every color on the planet Earth.
Absolutely.
And
but mostly you hear about the bad ones.
Well,
you don't hear about the good ones.
Well, and the good ones that are out there, Thomas Sewell, Ben Carson, some of those people who are genuinely speaking positive truths about, you know, their experience. And I really appreciate Thomas Sewell because the dude grew up in a single mom home. She worked a million jobs, and here's this guy, one of the most respected people.
So Ben Carson.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Great brain surgeon. And so these folks who should be influencing are pushed to a thing in favor of P. Diddy, you know, Dre, Oprah.
Well, that all, to me, that means the reason for that is there's too much time on our hands. Idle time is the devil's workshop. When you got kids that don't have anything to do, they're like Australian shepherds, young ones. They're going to get in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you know, all we've been taught, especially our kids now, is entertain ourselves and go out and have a good time. That's, you know, kids aren't, isn't that the truth? Kids aren't taught how to work anymore. A lot of their parents don't know how to work, but most parents can't take their kid to work with them.
No, the old days. I remember my dad used to work at grocery stores. His entire career was grocery stores, you know, and many of those years was produce manager, making sure the fruits and vegetables looked pretty. And we lived in Lompoc and he worked in Santa Barbara. So that itself was about a 55-minute drive. And he had to be at work at 6 o'clock. So he'd get up at like 4:15, whatever, jump in the car before 5 and show up. And he would take us to work with him, and we looked forward to it. We'd get in the car, fall asleep, and then we'd spend all day long with our little smock on, tied, you know, and we would be there all day long. And it taught me a lot, to be honest with you. It really taught me a lot because I was there all day long with my dad working his job. But back in the day, people thought it was the cutest thing that I was walking around, you know, answering questions. Oh, yes, ma'am, the apples are right.
Sure.
You can't do that anymore.
That's right. OSHA won't put up with it. There was one guy in town, that's been 15 or 20 years. He was a construction guy and had his 15-year-old son running the backhoe. And he just got slammed. I mean, a big fine and all kinds of stuff.
Well, you know, it's funny. As you know, I live on the Wild Horse Sanctuary up in Shingletocky. And our kid, Phil, when he was about 10, because Liz, we didn't live there then. My wife just volunteered and all this good stuff. So, but she'd take Phil with her. And the guy who was in charge of the sanctuary back then, Ted, he started putting Phil on the equipment. So Phil at 10, 11 years old was working backhoes and this, that, and the other. And by the time he was 15, he could operate dozers, backhoes, extended lifts. He could work a clutch on a truck. And he joined the National Guard, and he got out, or he graduated, I guess. And then he went into his specialist training for the next 8 weeks. And he went into heavy equipment, and he was bored to death. He goes, everything they taught us, I've known for 10 years.
There you go.
So, and he never got in trouble. He didn't crash anything. He didn't break anything. And so he learned at a very young age, outside of my purview maybe, but that's all right, how to do this stuff that we can't do with our kids anymore.
Yes.
And it's sad. Nick, I did want to talk about something that I think is, it's cancer, it's cancerous, and it's a stain on our conservative movement. In the last, let's say, 15 years, going back to Mr. Crap-Bama and moving forward, even though it turns out Bush is probably as corrupt as Obama, but from Obama forward, us conservatives have always looked at these liberals, and the crazier it gets, we scratch our heads and think, how can they continue to support such and such or this or, all that stuff that happened in Obama? And
I have the same question.
Okay. So we've been doing that to liberals for 15 years and scratching our head going, these people, they're idiots. The conservative movement has joined the woke liberal idiocy. We have a fatal flaw in that we have historically, we call out our own, and we will eat our own if we feel that person has crossed the line of ethics, honesty, and our beliefs. Well, now we've got a situation where the conservative movement is eating itself and doing the same things, the harassing, the violence, the threats, because people are criticizing Donald Trump and what's going on. And I am one of them. I voted for the man 3 times. I had great hopes on the first one. And up to the first year into his thing, I thought, okay, we have something. The whole Russia hoax really did take him off his game. But I learned that he surrounded himself with a bunch of hyenas and bloodthirsty rhinos who had no attention. And he never caught it, never saw it, never corrected course. Barr as an AG was worse than Sessions to start this thing. And it was worse. So now here we are into this new one, and we're like, mega, we're going to do it again. We're going to make it right. And when you look at what Trump's promised to date, the only one that I can find that he's actually delivered on was the border. We were promised JFK. We were promised Epstein. We were promised tariff refunds. We were promised, this, lower interest rates, no endless wars. And so you point that out, these people that are out there in much bigger podcasts and presence than us, and they're just getting railed. And this war in Iran is really driving a massive wedge. So I have said in the last year plus that Trump is not one of us. He never was. And, of course, people watching may think that's wrong. But remember, he was a lifelong registered liberal Democrat. That's what he was. And like my frog and the scorpion story on Poke the Hornets desk he is who he is. And everything that he promised that we rah-rahed and we voted for has not come true.
We've got the lowest murder rate in the United States than we've had in 125 years.
Well, I agree, but that's misleading and it's not true.
Yes, it is true. See, you're on the other side. You switched. You went over to the dark side, Doug.
No, hold on. But think about this. He sent in the National Guard into liberal cities to save them from themselves. He didn't do it in conservative cities. They're not in any conservative cities because they're not needed. Okay?
There you go.
So, in a true sense, yes, our murder rate is down, and air quotes, our crime is down, but he did it for liberal cities. Think about that. He didn't do it for anybody
His brother liberals. Is that what you're trying to say?
What I am saying is he gets to do this victory parade. He put a finger in the dike, which was easy, but the hole there was drilled by liberals flooding their own property. And he went in there and goes, and look, I've saved you. I've made you better. And I didn't agree with him sending them into Washington, D.C. I get it. We're making, now here's the problem, Nick. We're making their city safer, and they're going to continue to vote liberal.
Yes, and on top of that, we're outlawing abortion, so there'll be more of them in the future.
Well, yeah, the point being is, I don't.
I say let them have all the abortions you want. We'll have to have a couple refuges for liberals in 2 or 3 generations. They've all aborted them.
Well, we
went through that a little bit.
We did.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
I'm saying
but
that
the
we're
thing
eating ourselves now. We have turned to the point where we're eating ourselves, and the liberals are over here laughing their asses off.
I don't agree with you. I think the ones that are eating themselves, the conservatives that are eating themselves, are the ones that claim they're Republicans, but they're absolutely liberals, like Leonard Modi, Joe Clemente, Les Baugh, Keogh.
Yeah, but I mean that's just locally. But I mean they don't have any real influence.
But that's the example we can use that people can understand. Mary Rickard. Oh, I'm a conservative.
Yeah.
I'm Republican. Well, bull.
Yeah.
And you've got the same thing nationally. You've got a bunch of them. I wonder.
Well, we have a uniparty. We have the Republirat uniparty. The one guy, there's 2 guys in Congress that are worth a damn, and a third one that I like. The 2 that are worth a damn is Rand Paul and Thomas Massey. They read the bills, they vote based on whether they're going to be good for America or not. And Trump has taken it as a personal vendetta to unelect Rep. Tom Massey. They're the Republicans. Yes, you Republican losers. You guys are spending huge amount of money on Trump's orders to unseat probably the best congressman there is in Congress.
In your opinion?
In my opinion. But when you look at what he does and his reasoning and why he says he didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill and that the end result was going to be catastrophic, and he's the one that voted against it, so did Rand Paul. His points of view are sound. They're like, that makes sense. Everybody else just votes. The guy that I do like, the third one that I like for his sound bites, but he still votes every time party line, is Kennedy. That guy, he has...
Oh, John Kennedy?
He has some great scenes.
Oh, doesn't he, though?
Excuse me. I got sick when I was in New York, thank God. But the Republirat uniparty, it doesn't matter who you vote for. They're doing exactly the same thing, and they're going... and they're voting for the same bills, just different wording.
Okay, so
there you go.
You've hit a lot of subjects. I'm just going to say that I like Donald Trump. He's done the best job of any president that I can recall. His accomplishments weren't even attempted by a lot of different presidents. Mm-hmm. We haven't had a good conservative president since Reagan, have we? And he had his assets and liabilities. So does Donald Trump. But he's our president. We need to stand behind him and not beat him down. He's taken our country in places, better places, than any president in the near past. Sure, he's doing some things I don't like. I see that with politicians I like here locally. They do a few things I don't care for. But you can't expect them to do everything that you like. There's a reason for it. Just shutting down the border is one of the main things that saved our country.
He has done that. I give him credit on that.
I'm angry at him that he's not deporting enough of the illegal aliens, the guys that shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be some Hispanics that we love that work hard, that pay taxes, but are here illegally, that'll have to go home. Well, that's just collateral damage. That's just the way it is. You can't pick and choose. It's like picking and choosing who you're going to charge with murder. Well, Doug's okay, so what? He shot so-and-so.
Well,
but I don't like Nick, and he killed so-and-so. Hang him. You've got to...
Well, I mean, the thing, Nick, is you break it down to the simplest root term, and... the word that comes before immigrant every single time is illegal.
There you go.
And in any sense, illegal, and my wife's here legally, we went through the process, so I'm speaking from having been through the meat grinder. Illegal means you are a criminal. End of story. You should go. Period. And come through the front door like the people who are spending the money and waiting in their countries and waiting to get here like my wife and I took a year.
Absolutely. Go home and take the lessons you learned in America with you and improve your life where you came from. But
imagine if those people that came here in air quotes have learned Americanism. Let's just qualify it that.
Have gotten an education, they would have never got it.
Imagine if they went back to their countries, how great their countries might actually be if they took back some of the American work ethic.
That's the point I just
Yeah,
made. You're
I know.
stealing my idea.
I'm not. I'm
again,
jumping
Doug.
on it. I'm jumping on it because that's true. Why don't we send them back?
You take Iran. They're going to have a nuclear weapon in 2 or 3 years. They're going to have the technology to launch intercontinental ballistic missiles.
They have it already. We found that out.
Why hasn't another president? They kicked the can down the road. Trump's stomping on the can and making it quit. And they're just against him.
Reagan's the one that dropped this ball and screwed it up. When he got elected, they let go after 444 days the hostages. He should have went in immediately and just destroyed that country.
Actually, what happened
he should have done that because then the Islamic regime was barely going. It had just started. And as punishment for kidnapping our people for 400 days, he should have gone in, and we would not be dealing with most of the Middle East issues we have now. If he had just gone in then, they did not have the military capabilities. They didn't have the Islamic extremism.
Reagan sent his people over there 2 months before the election and told them to hold the hostages until he got elected.
Oh.
He made a deal with them.
Yeah. See?
Yes.
There you go. That just shows you the ethics of old Ronnie.
And I recall when the mullahs took over, we got rid of the Shah. The people were angry with the Shah. They hated the Shah. Now they want him back.
Well,
they didn't know what they were getting. They didn't know how good they got it, and they didn't think they had it good, and they probably didn't have it good, but it was better than what they got. And that's the end of the show.
All righty, guys. Have a good day.